The great hall of the Velkarian royal palace shimmered with starlight filtering through crystalline walls. King Zarn sat upon his throne made of rare metals, his forearms resting on ornate armrests. His silvery skin reflected the soft blue glow of the room as he watched his daughter Kira struggle to walk across the chamber. Kira was thin and fragile, even for a Velkarian. Her translucent skin revealed a network of purple veins pulsing weakly beneath. She moved slowly, each step careful and measured. The royal healers followed close behind, ready to assist should her strength fail, as it often did. "My daughter," the king said, his voice echoing in the vast space. "You cannot continue like this. The royal blood grows weaker with each generation." "Our healers have done all they can," Kira nodded sadly. She had heard this many times before. Since birth, her immune system had been compromised, unable to fight even minor infections that other Velkarians easily overcame. She spent most of her life in sterile chambers watched over by medical drones. Her mother, the queen, had died from similar complications shortly after Kira was born. The king rose from his throne, towering at nearly 8 feet tall. He approached his daughter and knelt before her so their eyes could meet. His were filled with worry and desperation. "The Council of Elders has finally approved my request," he said. His voice softened. "We have been monitoring a species called humans. They are primitive in many ways, but their medical sciences follow paths our people never explored. Their immune systems are remarkably adaptive." Kira had studied humans in her educational programs. They were a curiosity among the galactic community. Short-lived, physically weak, but surprisingly resilient. They survived on a planet with extreme temperature variations, dangerous predators, and constant exposure to pathogens. Their bodies could adapt to almost anything, given enough time. "Father, what are you suggesting?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The king took a deep breath. "I have arranged for you to live on Earth with one of their healers, someone who specializes in immune disorders. They believe human medical techniques might help strengthen your system." Kira stared at her father in shock. Leave Velkaria. The thought terrified and excited her in equal measure. She had never left the palace complex, let alone traveled to another world. The royal council was outraged. King Zarn continued, "They believe sending the heir to the throne to live among a lesser species is an insult to our ancestors. But I would sacrifice tradition, pride, everything, if it means you might live a full life." Kira thought of her sheltered existence, the sterile rooms, the constant medical procedures, the pitying looks from courtiers who knew she would likely never rule. She thought of her mother who had died too young from the same genetic weakness. "When would I leave?" she asked. "Tomorrow." The king replied, "The arrangements have already been made. The healer lives in a remote area of Earth, a place called Montana. It is isolated, which should reduce your exposure to human pathogens while you adapt." That night, Kira stood at the viewing port of her chambers looking at the 3 moons of Velkaria. She watched as medical drones packed specialized equipment into containers. Her personal attendant, Mela, helped prepare appropriate clothing modified for her 4-limbed form. "Will it hurt?" Mela asked the question. Kira was too afraid to voice. Kira turned to the attendant who had been with her since childhood. "I do not know. What if their methods fail? What if I die there far from home?" Mela placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Then at least you will have seen something of the universe beyond these walls." The royal transport was small and discreet, designed to attract minimal attention upon landing on Earth. Kira sat beside her father, watching as her homeworld shrank to a bright point among countless stars. She wore a protective suit that filtered all external contaminants. Her breathing was shallow, her heart racing with anxiety and anticipation. The journey took 3 standard cycles. During that time, King Zarn briefed her on human customs and behaviors. They were emotional creatures, driven by complex social bonds. Their society lacked the rigid structure of Velkarian culture. The planet came into view, a blue-green marble swirled with white clouds. It looked vibrant, alive in ways Velkaria, with its carefully controlled environments, never did. "We will land at a designated area," Kira, the king, explained. "The human healer will meet us there. Her name is Samantha Kelly. She has been informed of your condition and has agreed to host you for 1 Earth year. Their government has provided special dispensation for your stay as the ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Kira felt the increased gravity press against her frail body. The sensation was uncomfortable, but not unbearable. The landing was smooth. The ship touching down in a grassy field surrounded by tall green plants her translator identified as trees. The door opened, and for the first time Kira smelled unfiltered alien air. Even through her protective suit, the richness of it overwhelmed her senses. She stepped onto Earth, soil her legs trembling partly from weakness, partly from fear. A human female stood waiting nearby. She was small by Valkyrian standards, perhaps 5.5 feet tall, with pale skin and hair, the color of Valkyria's sunset. Her eyes were a startling. Blue King Zarn emerged behind Kira, his imposing presence causing the human to step back slightly. Samantha Kelly, the king said formally, "I entrust you with my greatest treasure. My daughter carries the future of our people." The human nodded and stepped forward. "I will do everything in my power to help her, Your Majesty." Samantha led Kira toward a small dwelling nestled among the trees. The human home was primitive by Valkyrian standards, built of processed plant material and mineral compounds. But there was something appealing about its simplicity. "This is my clinic and home," Samantha explained. She walked slowly, matching her pace to Kira's labored steps. "I live here alone, so you will have privacy for your treatments inside." Kira saw medical equipment, some familiar, some strange. The human technology looked bulky and inefficient compared to Valkyrian medical devices, but Samantha moved among them with confidence, explaining each one. "Your father sent detailed information about your biology," she said. "I have been studying it for months. I believe we can help you." After the king departed, promising to communicate regularly, Kira felt a wave of loneliness wash over her. She had never been separated from her royal attendants. The silence of the earth dwelling was unsettling. Samantha showed Kira to a room prepared specially for her. The walls were lined with air purification systems, the bed adjusted to accommodate her taller frame, and 4 arms. "You must be exhausted," Samantha said. "Tomorrow we will begin assessment, but for now, sleep did not come easily. The gravity of Earth pulled at Kira's body, making her feel even weaker than usual. Strange sounds filtered through the walls. Creatures Samantha called crickets and owls. The moons of Earth were wrong. One was too large, the other missing entirely. Morning brought new challenges: eating human food specially modified for her digestive system, walking in the increased gravity, learning to operate simple household devices. The human woman was patient, explaining everything, showing, rather than telling you. "Primary problem is an underdeveloped immune system," Samantha explained on the 3rd day. "Your species evolved in highly controlled environments with few pathogens. Generations of royal lineage in sterile conditions has weakened your natural defenses, but we can train your system like we would train a muscle." The first treatments were painful. Small controlled exposures to harmless earth bacteria. Kira developed fevers, her body fighting unfamiliar invaders. Samantha monitored her, constantly adjusting, medications, developing new protocols. The human worked tirelessly, often sleeping in the chair beside Kira's bed. "Why are you helping me?" Kira asked. "During one particularly difficult night, Valkyria offers you nothing in return." Samantha smiled. "You are my patient. That is enough. But also I have never had the chance to help someone from another world." It is exciting. As weeks passed, Kira began to notice subtle changes. Her episodes of exhaustion grew shorter, her breathing easier. The constant ache in her joints lessened. Samantha recorded everything, creating detailed reports to send to the Valkyrian healers. "You are responding well to the treatments," Samantha said one morning. "We can begin phase 2. Phase 2 involved physical exercise, something Kira had always been forbidden on Valkyria, walking short distances at first, then longer. Gentle movements to strengthen atrophied muscles. Samantha called it yoga. The human demonstrated positions, modifying them for Kira's 4 arms and different joint structure. The first time Kira stood in Earth sunshine without her protective suit was terrifying and exhilarating. Small doses at first, her skin prickling with the unfamiliar sensation of unfiltered light and air. Earth's natural environment is full of beneficial microbes, Samantha explained. Your body needs to learn which are friends and which are enemies. The human home began to feel less alien. Kira learned to prepare simple meals, manipulating utensils with her 4 hands. She tended plants in Samantha's garden, marveling at how they grew without regulation. She watched Earth entertainment programs, learning about human culture and emotions. Samantha taught Kira about human medicine, the integration of technology and natural remedies, the importance of mental well-being in physical health, the human concept of healing that went beyond merely treating symptoms. I believe your people have overlooked something important, Samantha said one evening. The connection between mind and body. Stress and fear suppress immune function. Confidence and purpose strengthen it. 6 months into her stay on Earth, Kira received a transmission from her father. His face registered shock when he saw her. She stood without support, her posture straight. Her skin had developed a healthy, silvery sheen. You look stronger, he said, his voice filled with hope. The royal healers are astonished by Samantha's reports. They did not believe such improvement possible. Kira felt pride swell within her. For the first time in her life, she was not defined by weakness. She told her father about life on Earth, the daily exercises, the gradual exposure therapy, the nutrition plan. Samantha had developed. The human approach is different, father, she explained. They do not see the body as a machine with broken parts to be fixed. They see it as a living system that can learn and adapt. After the transmission ended, Samantha suggested they celebrate Kira's progress. She took the princess to a nearby lake. The first time Kira had ventured so far from the clinic, the water stretched before them, reflecting the setting sun. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks covered in white snow. It is beautiful, Kira whispered. Not as regulated as Valkyria, Samantha said. But perhaps that is why it is beautiful. Life finds a way to thrive in imperfection. Kira waded into the shallows of the lake, feeling the cool water against her legs. The sensation was shocking at first, then pleasant. Earth was full of such contrasts. Hot and cold, rough and smooth, sweet and bitter. Each experience taught her body new ways to respond and adapt. That night, a storm rolled across the mountains. Thunder shook the small house. Lightning illuminated the sky in brilliant flashes. Kira watched through the window, fascinated by the raw power of Earth weather on Valkyria. All weather is controlled, she told Samantha. Nothing is allowed to be unpredictable. Perhaps that is why your people have grown vulnerable, Samantha suggested gently. Without challenges, bodies forget how to be strong. The storm knocked out power to the clinic. Samantha lit candles, their flickering light casting long shadows. Against all Valkyrian medical protocols, Kira helped Samantha move sensitive medications to cooling units, powered by an emergency generator. Her muscles ached with the effort, but she did not falter. You did well tonight, Samantha said when power was restored. 6 months ago, you could not have managed such physical activity. Kira realized the human was right. On Valkyria, she had been treated as if she might break at any moment. Here on Earth, Samantha expected her to try to push beyond her limitations, and somehow she had. The next day, Kira found Samantha reviewing her medical charts. The human looked troubled. Something wrong? Kira asked. Samantha hesitated. Your improvement is remarkable, but I believe we could do more. The royal protocols your father sent restrict certain treatments. They fear too rapid change might harm you. What treatments? Kira asked. Exposure to more diverse environments, Samantha explained. More intensive physical training. I believe your body is capable of far more than your people realize. Kira thought about the storm, about the lake, about everything she had learned on Earth, Valkyrian. Caution had kept her alive, but it had also kept her weak. I want to try, Kira said. My father sent me here to heal. I trust your judgment. Samantha smiled. That is exactly the attitude that will make you stronger. The next phase of treatment began with trips beyond Samantha's property. Kira wore minimal protective gear, only a breathing filter for particularly crowded areas. Her first visit to the small Montana town caused quite a stir. Humans stared and whispered, but most were polite. Some even welcomed her. The town had been briefed about their extraterrestrial visitor, but seeing a 7-foot-tall, 4-armed, silver-skinned alien in their grocery store was still remarkable. A small human child approached Kira while Samantha selected fresh produce. The girl looked up with wide eyes and asked, "Are you a space princess?" Kira knelt down, bringing herself closer to the child's level. "Yes, I am," she replied. The child smiled. "I knew it." She reached out and touched Kira's hand with curious fingers. The casual contact would have terrified Kira months ago. Now she simply marveled at the child's lack of fear as summer arrived in Montana. Samantha introduced more challenging activities: hiking on forest trails, swimming in the lake, even horseback riding modified to accommodate Kira's anatomy. The Valkyrian princess, who once could barely walk across a room, now climbed mountains. "Your muscle density has increased 30%, Samantha noted during a medical scan. "Your respiratory capacity has doubled. Your immune response to common earth bacteria is now comparable to a human child's. Not perfect, but functional." Each communication with her father showed King Zarn the remarkable changes in his daughter. The king consulted with royal scientists who could not explain her transformation. According to Valkyrian medical knowledge, such rapid adaptation should not be possible. "There is a theory," Samantha explained when Kira shared the scientists' confusion. "Humans evolved on a planet that tried to kill us daily. Predators, diseases, extreme weather. We survived by adapting. Your species may have the same potential for adaptation, but never needed to use it one day while hiking a steep trail." Kira heard a cry for help. A human male had fallen from an upper path. His leg was badly injured. Samantha immediately went into doctor mode, assessing the damage. "I need to get my medical kit," she told Kira. "It's a bad break. We need to stabilize him before moving him," without hesitation. Kira said, "I will carry him." Samantha looked doubtful. The man was heavy and the path to the clinic was long, but Kira had been training for months, building strength she never knew she could possess. She carefully lifted the injured hiker, using all 4 arms to distribute his weight. The man stared in wonder as the alien princess carried him down the mountain with steady steps. By the time they reached the clinic, Kira was exhausted, but triumphant. She had done something useful. Something that mattered. Samantha treated the hiker's broken leg while Kira rested. "You saved that man hours of pain," Samantha said later, "and possibly prevented further injury." Kira felt something new. Pride not in her royal status, but in her actions, her ability to help others. The feeling was intoxicating. News of the alien princess who rescued a hiker spread through the small town. The story reached local news stations. Then national humans were fascinated by the tale of the frail alien who came to Earth for healing and ended up saving one of them. Kira received messages from humans around the planet. Many were ill themselves or had loved ones fighting disease. They saw hope in her story. The royal palace sent concerned communications worried about security and exposure. But Kira persuaded her father that this was part of her healing. "I am no longer hiding from life, father," she told him. "I am living it." As her strength grew, Samantha adjusted her training. The human introduced Kira to self-defense, techniques adapted for her unique physiology. "Your species has natural advantages," the human explained. 4 arms, greater height, denser bone structure. "You can be formidable if you learn to use these gifts." Kira practiced daily, learning to block, strike, and evade. She moved with increasing speed and confidence. Her body, once so fragile, now responded with power and precision. 8 months into her Earth stay, Kira received an urgent message from Valkyria. A diplomatic crisis had erupted with a neighboring species. The king was ill, overcome with stress. His message was brief. "I fear I made a mistake sending you so far from home, daughter," he said. "The council questions my judgment. My health fails. The succession must be secured." Kira felt torn between her new life on Earth and her duty to her people. She shared her concerns with Samantha. The human listened carefully, then said, "Your father sent you here to heal, to become strong enough to lead your people one day. That day may be coming sooner than he expected, but I am not ready to rule." Kira protested. Samantha smiled. "You climbed a mountain yesterday. You saved a man's life. You faced your fears and overcame them. What is ruling a kingdom compared to that?" Kira meditated that night, a practice Samantha had taught her. She centered her thoughts, focused her mind on Valkyria. Ruling was about tradition protocol, managing the complex bureaucracy of an ancient civilization. But perhaps it could be more. Perhaps a ruler who had experienced life beyond palace walls could bring new vision. The next morning she contacted the Valkyrian ambassador to Earth. "I need a secure transmission to the Royal Council." She said it is time they heard from their future queen. The council members were surprised when Kira addressed them. Her appearance alone shocked them. The princess who had left Valkyria pale and weak now stood tall and confident. She spoke with authority, laying out her concerns for her father and the diplomatic crisis. "I will return to Valkyria when my Earth treatment is complete," she told them. "But I will not return to the old ways. I have learned too much about strength and adaptation." The eldest council member frowned. "Your place is in the palace. Princess protected and preserved." Kira laughed. "A sound rarely heard from Valkyrian royalty. Protection has made our bloodline weak. Preservation has made us stagnant. I intend to change that." The council was scandalized, but several younger members seemed intrigued. One asked, "What would you do differently?" Princess Kira, she outlined her vision. A Valkyria that engaged more openly with other species, that encouraged its people to explore and experience, that valued strength over tradition. Her words carried the conviction of someone who had transformed herself through struggle. After the transmission ended, Samantha stood nearby, her expression proud. "You sounded like a queen," she said. Kira shook her head. "Not yet. But I will be, and I will be a queen, unlike any Valkyria has known." That night, a meteor shower streaked across the Montana sky. Kira and Samantha sat outside watching the celestial display. On Valkyria, meteors are considered bad omens. Kira said, "They represent chaos, unpredictability, change." Samantha smiled. "Here on Earth, many humans make wishes. When they see falling stars, they represent possibility, hope, new beginnings." The princess thought about that difference. It seemed to encapsulate everything she had learned. The Valkyrian fear of the unknown versus the human embrace of possibility. Transmission from the royal palace arrived the next morning. The king had recovered somewhat. The diplomatic crisis had eased, but the council remained divided. Some members supported Kira's vision of change. Others feared it. "You have 9 weeks remaining. In your Earth treatment," the king said, "I hope you will use them well. The battles ahead may require all your new strength." Kira understood the warning. She would face resistance when she returned. The old guard would not easily accept new ideas, but she was no longer the fragile princess who left Valkyria. She had faced greater challenges than court politics. Samantha developed an accelerated training program for Kira's final weeks on Earth. Intense physical conditioning, advanced immunotherapy, diplomatic strategy sessions drawing on Samantha's knowledge of human history and politics. "You have the body of a warrior," now Samantha told her. But ruling requires more than physical strength. It requires wisdom, compassion, and sometimes calculated risk. Kira absorbed these lessons with the same determination she had shown in her physical training. She studied Earth governments, learning how different human societies balanced tradition with progress. She analyzed diplomatic conflicts and their resolutions. She prepared herself not just to survive but to lead. 10 months into her stay on Earth, Kira received alarming news. A transport ship carrying Valkyrian diplomats had been attacked in neutral space. Several crew members were injured. Some were missing. The diplomatic corps suspected involvement from the Drax hegemony, a militant species that had long contested Valkyrian territory. The king called for Kira's immediate return to Valkyria. The council believed her presence would stabilize the situation, showing the royal family remained strong and united. I must go, Kira told Samantha. My people need me. The human doctor looked concerned. Your treatment is not complete. 2 more months would ensure your immune system is fully stabilized. Kira placed her 4 hands on Samantha's shoulders. You have taught me that healing is not just about medical procedures, it is about purpose, about using strength to help others. My people need me now. Samantha nodded, understanding. You are not the same princess who arrived here. You are ready. Preparations for departure began immediately. Samantha packed specialized medications and treatment protocols. The Valkyrian embassy arranged for a diplomatic vessel. The local townspeople gathered to say goodbye to the alien princess who had become part of their community. The night before her departure, Kira could not sleep. She walked outside gazing at the stars, knowing that soon she would be among them. She found Samantha on the porch, also restless. I have something for you, the human said. She handed Kira a small device. This contains all your medical data, treatment protocols, and my research notes. It also has something else. Personal messages from people you helped here. Stories of how you inspired them. I thought on difficult days these might remind you of what you accomplished on Earth. Kira felt emotion swell in her chest, a very human reaction she had learned to embrace. Thank you, she whispered. Not just for healing my body, but for showing me a new way to see the universe. The diplomatic vessel arrived at dawn, sleek and imposing, unlike the discreet transport that had brought her to Earth. As Kira prepared to board, Samantha handed her one last item. A small vial filled with clear liquid earth soil bacteria. She explained, a booster for your immune system. Take it if you feel yourself growing weak again. Remember that strength sometimes comes from embracing what seems dangerous. The journey back to Valkyria took 2 standard cycles. Kira used the time to review diplomatic briefings and prepare for the challenges ahead. When the royal palace came into view, its crystalline spires gleaming in the light of Valkyria's suns, she felt a strange mix of familiarity and distance. It was home, but she was no longer the same princess who had left it. King Zarn waited in the great hall. The king looked older, more tired than Kira remembered, but his eyes brightened when he saw his daughter striding confidently toward the throne without assistance, without hesitation. My daughter, he said, his voice filled with wonder. You have returned to us transformed, the court whispered as Kira approached. Many had believed she would never return. Some had hoped it. Those who had positioned themselves to influence the succession now stared in dismay at the healthy, strong princess before them. Father, Kira said formally, I have returned to serve Valkyria with all that I have learned. The official welcome ceremony was followed by a private meeting with the king and the royal council. Kira presented Samantha's research and treatment protocols, explaining how human medical science had succeeded where Valkyrian methods had failed. These techniques could help many of our people, Kira said. Not just those of royal blood. Some council members seemed intrigued, others suspicious. One elder named Vex, who had long opposed the king's policies, spoke. You speak of helping others, princess. But our first concern must be security. The Drax grow bold. Their attack on our diplomatic vessel demands a strong response, not medical experiments. Kira studied Vex, noting how he had positioned himself close to the throne during her absence, how his supporters now filled key positions in the royal guard. A political player using the crisis to advance his influence. The Drax attack requires investigation before response, Kira replied. The missing diplomats must be found. Before we commit to action, we need information. Council member Vex frowned. Information takes time, princess. The people demand action. They need to see the royal family as strong. Kira recognized the manipulation. She had studied human conflicts, had learned from Samantha how fear was often used to justify hasty decisions. True strength is not measured by how quickly we strike, counselor, but by How wisely we act, she said. My father sent me to Earth not just to heal my body but to learn new ways of thinking. That investment will now benefit all Velkaria. The king smiled subtly, recognizing the diplomatic skill his daughter displayed. The meeting concluded with a compromise. A search mission would be launched to locate the missing diplomats while defensive positions were strengthened. The aggressive military action Vex had advocated was delayed. After the council departed, the king embraced his daughter. You have grown wise as well as strong, he said, but be careful, Vex and his faction will not easily surrender influence. They have spread rumors during your absence that your mind has been corrupted by human ideas, that you are no longer. Truly, Velkarian. Kira nodded. I expected as much. Change always faces resistance, father. But resistance can be overcome with patience and persistence. You taught me that when you defied the council to send me to Earth in the following days, Kira established a new routine. She continued the physical training Samantha had designed, adapting it to Velkarian gravity. She took regular doses of the immune booster. She reviewed the diplomatic situation, meeting with intelligence officers and military commanders. Most importantly, she made public appearances, meeting ordinary citizens, visiting hospitals, showing herself to be healthy and strong, and concerned with the welfare of all Velkarians, not just the elite. The people responded with surprise and growing approval. Their frail princess had returned a warrior. 2 weeks after her return, the search mission located the missing diplomatic vessel. It had been attacked, not by the Drax as suspected, but by pirates operating in unclaimed territory. The surviving diplomats were rescued, though several had died in the attack. The news complicated the political situation. The Drax were not responsible, which undermined Vex's calls for military action, but the pirate threat required a different response. Kira saw an opportunity. We'll lead a diplomatic mission to negotiate with neighboring systems for joint security patrols, she announced at a council meeting. Pirates threaten all civilized space, not just Velkaria. By working together, we can eliminate this threat. Vex objected. Immediately, a princess cannot engage in such dangerous work. It is unprecedented. Kira smiled. That was true of the old princess counselor. But as you can see, she gestured to her transformed self. I am no longer that person. The king supported Kira's proposal. The mission would depart within the month. A faction of younger council members aligned with Kira, impressed by her strength and vision. They began calling themselves reformists, in contrast to the traditionalists who followed Vex's preparations for the diplomatic mission proceeded. Kira established a research facility in the palace dedicated to adapting human medical techniques for Velkarian physiology. She recruited progressive healers eager to explore new methods. Several showed particular interest in the mind-body connection Samantha had emphasized. One evening, as Kira was reviewing security protocols for her upcoming mission, she received an unexpected alert. A royal guard loyal to her father warned her of unusual movement in the palace security forces. Guards aligned with Vex were taking up strategic positions. A potential coup was unfolding. Kira acted swiftly, moving through secret passages, her enhanced strength and speed, allowing her to evade detection. She reached her father's chambers just as Vex and his conspirators arrived. The king faced the traitors with dignity. You overreach, counselor, he said. Vex smiled. Your reign has grown weak. Your daughter returns from Earth with dangerous foreign ideas. The traditionalists cannot allow Velkaria to be corrupted. Before Vex could signal his guards to seize the king, Kira dropped from a ventilation shaft, landing in a defensive stance between her father and the conspirators. Her 4 arms held ceremonial blades taken from wall displays. Her eyes blazed with determination. You speak of tradition, counselor, she said. But the oldest tradition of our people is that the strong protect the vulnerable, that those with power use it justly. I have returned from Earth with strength. You cannot imagine. Do not test it. Vex guards hesitated. They had heard rumors of the princess transformation, but seeing her warrior stance, her confident poise, gave them pause. Vex himself stepped back, shocked by her sudden appearance and evident. Power guards loyal to the king arrived moments later, having been alerted by Kira's swift actions. The coup collapsed before it truly began. Vex and his closest conspirators were arrested. The king stood watching his daughter with pride and amazement. "You saved the throne," he said later. "When I sent you to Earth, I hoped only that you would survive. I never imagined you would return as our savior." Kira shook her head. "I am not a savior, father. I am simply what our people can become if we embrace change, rather than fear it, if we see difference as opportunity rather than threat." 6 months after thwarting the coup, Kira stood on the observation deck of the Valkyrian flagship Renewal. She watched as the blue-green planet Earth grew larger in the viewport. Her diplomatic mission to neighboring systems had been successful, establishing joint security patrols that significantly reduced pirate activity. Now she returned to the world that had transformed her. Samantha waited at the designated landing site. The human doctor had aged slightly in the year since Kira's departure, but her eyes still shone with the same intelligence and compassion. The two embraced Kira, lifting her human friend effortlessly with 2 arms while her other hands gestured in Valkyrian greeting. "You look well," Samantha said, examining the princess. "With a medical eye, your father's update suggested as much, but I wanted to see for myself." Kira smiled. "My strength continues to grow. I maintain the regimen you designed. I take the immune booster regularly. But it is more than physical health I found. Purpose, direction." They walked toward Samantha's clinic, now expanded with new buildings and equipment funded by the Valkyrian crown. Kira explained the changes on her homeworld. The gradual reforms, the research facility adapting human medical techniques, the educational initiatives encouraging young Valkyrians to study alien cultures. Most importantly, I established an exchange program. Kira said Valkyrians with conditions similar to mine now come to Earth for treatment. We have healing centers in 3 locations with human and Valkyrian doctors working together. Samantha nodded approval. "Your father mentioned this program in his communications. He seemed proud, though, concerned about traditionalist resistance." "There will always be those who fear change," Kira acknowledged, "but results speak louder than fear." 20 Valkyrian children who were once confined to sterile chambers now run and play in Earth sunshine. Their parents, who once grieved for shortened lives, now plan for futures. The opposition cannot argue with such success. Inside the clinic, Kira met some of these children, young Valkyrians with genetic conditions similar to hers. Their silver skin had developed healthy sheens. Their movements showed growing strength. They gathered around the princess, asking questions about Earth animals, Earth weather, Earth games. She answered patiently, remembering her own wonder and fear during those first days on the alien planet. Later, Kira and Samantha hiked to the lake that had been part of the princess' early therapy. The mountain air was crisp, the water reflecting clouds and sky. They sat on the shore talking of small things, and great of personal memories and galactic politics. "I have brought something for you," Kira said finally. She produced a small crystal container. From this position, it looked like an ordinary decorative object. "What is it?" Samantha asked. Kira smiled. "It is an official designation from the Valkyrian crown, naming you royal physician and cultural ambassador. It comes with certain privileges, including access to Valkyrian medical databases, research facilities, and, if you wish, citizenship." Samantha stared at the crystal, her expression surprised. "I never expected recognition. I was simply doing my job." "It is more than recognition," Kira explained. "It is an invitation. My father is establishing a new council of interspecies cooperation. He hopes you will serve as Earth's representative." The human doctor laughed. "Me? A diplomat? I am just a country doctor." Kira shook her head. "You are the woman who saw strength where others saw only weakness, who understood that adaptation requires challenge, not protection, who taught a princess to carry hikers down mountains and face conspirators with courage. These are the qualities needed for true diplomacy." Samantha considered the offer. The lake rippled with a passing breeze. The mountains stood eternal in the distance. Earth continued its wild, unpredictable, beautiful existence. "I would need to train others to continue the treatment program," she said finally. "Of course," Kira agreed. "The exchange program is too important to neglect. There are already 3 human doctors working with our researchers on Valkyria. They could rotate duties." That evening they attended. a gathering in the small Montana town. The local people welcomed Princess Kira as one of their own, sharing stories of her time among them. The human child who had first called her a space princess now proudly showed Kira a school project about Valkyrian culture. Watching the interactions between humans and the Valkyrian children in treatment, Kira felt a sense of completion. Her personal journey had expanded into something greater, a bridge between worlds, a path for others to follow. Before returning to her ship, Kira visited the mountain where she had carried the injured hiker. The trail seemed less steep than she remembered, the distance shorter. She moved effortlessly now, her body strong, her breathing steady. She reached the summit as the sun began to set, painting the landscape in colors no Valkyrian artist had ever captured. A communication device chimed softly. It was her father. The council meeting went well, the king reported. The initiative for joint medical research has been approved. Though some still grumble about human influence, they cannot argue with results. How does Earth look from your perspective? Daughter, beautiful and chaotic and perfect. Kira replied, I can see why it produces such resilient people. Her father nodded. The human doctor Samantha. Has she considered our offer? She is cautious but interested. Kira said she has questions about implementation details, logistics, but I believe she will accept. Excellent, the king said. Her perspective would be valuable, and it would please me to meet the woman who saved my daughter, who gave Valkyria its future queen. After ending the transmission, Kira remained on the mountaintop watching as stars appeared in the darkening sky. She could identify Earth constellations, now alongside the familiar stars of home sectors. Her universe had expanded in ways she once could not have imagined. A year later, Princess Kira stood before the assembled diplomatic corps of 12 spacefaring species. The Great Hall of the Valkyrian Palace had been transformed. Traditionally closed to outsiders, it now hosted representatives from across known space. Humans stood alongside Drax Veloci, mingled with Targon. Ancient enemies, finding common ground. The occasion was momentous. The formal establishment of the Galactic Health Initiative, a joint research program combining medical knowledge from multiple species. Kira, as its director, had worked tirelessly to bring it to fruition. As she addressed the gathering, Kira caught Samantha's eye. The human doctor, now Chief Earth Liaison, smiled with quiet pride. Medical science has traditionally developed in isolation. Kira began, each species solving problems within the boundaries of their own biology, their own perspectives. But my journey taught me that strength often comes from unexpected sources, from embracing what seems foreign or frightening. She gestured to the diverse assembly, the Drax expertise in regenerative medicine, the Veloci understanding of neural pathways, the human capacity for adaptation. All these combined create possibilities none of us could achieve alone. Our differences are not obstacles, but opportunities. King Zarn watched from his throne. His daughter, once so fragile, now commanded respect from beings across the galaxy. Her transformation had inspired others. Valkyrians who once rarely left their homeworld now served on joint research vessels. Mixed medical teams worked in facilities throughout Allied space. In her private quarters that evening, Kira added to her personal journal. She had maintained this human practice since her time on Earth, finding that recording her thoughts helped clarify her purpose. Today marks not just the beginning of the initiative, but the anniversary of my departure. For Earth, she wrote, 2 years since I left this palace, barely able to walk across a room. A frightened princess with little hope for the future. She paused, looking at her reflection in the crystalline walls. The silver-skinned warrior who looked back bore little resemblance to that frail girl. I once believed my weakness was a curse, she continued. Now I understand it was a gift. It forced me to seek help beyond our borders, to experience life outside palace walls, to learn that true strength comes not from isolation but connection. Kira closed the journal and moved to the viewport beyond the palace. The lights of the capital city sparkled, The diplomatic vessels of a dozen worlds orbited above tomorrow would bring new challenges, new resistances to overcome, new opportunities to build bridges. But tonight she simply gazed at the stars, remembering a human doctor who had taught a princess to climb mountains from across the galaxy on a small blue-green planet. Samantha, too, looked at the night sky, knowing that somewhere among those distant points of light, a once frail alien princess continued to change worlds. She smiled, thinking of all the children, both human and alien, who would never know the limitations that had once seemed inevitable, the barriers that had been broken, the horizons that had expanded. The legend of Princess Kira, the alien who had learned strength from humanity and carried it to the stars, was just beginning. Its ripples would spread across the galaxy for generations, transforming not just Valkyria, but all worlds touched by her vision.